Yeah.
Yeah.
My number one is Assassin's Creed Unity, which I'll talk about in relation to Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I also played. You haven't played either of these, I assume?
I can't stand Assassin's Creed games. I tried to play Black Flag. I tried to get on board with everyone else, and I just hated it. So, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it for about 3 or 4 hours, and then I just stopped and got angry with it. So, yeah, not for me.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, Assassin's Creed Unity, I know that some people have been playing it and have encountered no technical issues over the last few days, because there have been patches and whatnot now, so performance is sure to have been boosted by those. But when I played it, which was a couple of days before launch and around the time of launch, the performance of the game on Xbox One was a serious problem. The frame rate was diabolical, and I encountered huge glitches on a regular basis. But even without those problems, I don't think Assassin's Creed Unity is worth a damn anyway. I have a feeling that how you feel about Unity will have a lot to do with how you feel about Black Flag, because for me that was the best Assassin's Creed ever by quite some distance. But for a lot of people I know, like long-term fans of the series, thought that it kind of diluted the formula, and Unity will probably work for those people. It feels, sort of at first glance, like a direct sequel to the first game. So if you're one of those unusual people who think that the subsequent improvements to the series were a bad thing, then Merry Christmas, because this is a throwback to Assassin's Creed the first game, and I just think it's a terrible mystery, to be quite honest. First of all, the story is horse shit. You play as this complete dullard called Arno, who starts out as the usual downtrodden. He's basically a slave, before he's kind of framed for murder, and then he goes to jail, and after that he's a moody white man out for revenge, breaking the mould of the franchise. The plotting
Can I ask, is it still doing the future stuff?
It does, but less so than usual.
Okay.
The future stuff's actually barely in this, to its credit. And the same's true of Rogue. I think that they've kind of... there's much less of it than there has been in the past. Ever since Desmond Miles stopped being a part of it, they've actually sort of... that's played less of a part of it than it previously did. But the plotting is just... It's more nonsensical and flippant than ever. And there's this conspiracy, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the French Revolutions. There are a kind of implication that it's being orchestrated behind the scenes. But here's the worst part. The world is just empty, and I don't mean physically empty. I mean it's a kaleidoscope. There's no way, many people. I can't. I've lost track of how many times I've read the sentence. It feels so alive. It's the most alive world ever in an Assassin's Creed. I mean, I think John even said it last week, and I do not agree. I think this is the emptiest and least engaging sandbox world I have ever been in. It does not feel alive to me. It feels dead. There are people standing in the streets shouting, but you don't know why. I mean, why are they there? You don't interact with them at all. The story doesn't really concern itself with any of the people in this France. The game makes no attempt to put you in that environment, because the Assassin's Creed games, when they're at their very best, they very cleverly draw you into a place. I still remember, Assassin's Creed 2. I remember I was trying to assassinate someone or infiltrate a castle or something, and I was standing outside trying to mingle with people, and the guards were suspicious of me, and I wasn't sure whether to hang about or do a runner. And one of those minstrels with the lute turned up and started singing to me. They sing those ridiculous songs. I can't remember how any of them go, but he was singing this song at me, and I was certain that it was making the guards more suspicious, so I started throwing money at the floor, like, fuck off. And eventually, whether it was something he did or it was something that I did, they noticed me and there was a chase, and I had to do a runner, and I was in this long chase where I almost died and ran for what seemed like miles before I eventually found a hiding spot, and it all finished, and that was the end of it. So I chilled out, got out of the hay bale or whatever it was. And who walks around the corner at that exact second? The same guy with his little guitar. Oh, I'm singing you a song. He'd ran all the way after me. It's a stupid incident, but it makes you feel like you're part of an actual world. And there was that great bit in Assassin's Creed 3 where you're talking to someone and trying to calm them down while a mob forms around you, and you're walking down the street with all of these furious people. And it's just a small flavour of this community that's supposed to be at boiling point. small things to make the world feel palpable, and there is nothing like that in Unity. It's many people standing around and shouting in the street. That's your world. When people say it's alive, I don't know what they're talking about. The game is really good looking at times, but the glitches were so consistent and so severe on my playthrough that I never even thought of it as a good looking game. It was only afterwards, when I was reviewing footage I'd captured to make some screenshots, that I really sat back and thought, wow, it's really, this is a hell of a good looking game. But yeah, the story is a dud, and the futuristic bits, the framing device, is barely here, but it seems to have been forgotten about during the production, because it's only really used to throw you in some big action scenes, because there's supposed to be a glitch in the animus and you're throwing around time. It's just. But at the end of the game, as the final sort of motions are playing out of the story, I thought, what's happened? What's going on? Like, what's supposed to have happened in the future? And literally, as the credits are rolling, I was just thinking, what's happening? And then, what's her name? Rebecca. Her voice comes on the soundtrack. She's like, oh yeah, good job. It's all done. See you again. Bye. I was like, oh, right, wicked, that's that. It's almost as if it was forgotten about. And they got the actress in to record a last-minute sort of wrap-up over the end credits. But regardless of all of that stuff, the gameplay is just so tedious. There are no eavesdrop missions anymore, which most people will be thrilled about, but the big set-piece missions are really lame and really repetitive, as they were in the first game. They just give you a massive space, one target, and you have to get in, get the kill, and get out. And there are some lame modifiers here and there, like, for example, you can go and bribe a woman, like a cleaning lady, and she'll open a window for you. But it's just a mess, because if you're really careful, those missions can take an hour, maybe longer. But the autosave system, sometimes it saves every few seconds, and sometimes it doesn't save, so you can lose an hour and then boom, you're teleported back to the building across the street and you have to do it all again. And the AI is just maniacal. If you get discovered, it basically enters a fail state. It feels like what they've tried to do is avoid the most annoying thing in a stealth game, which is a sudden massive message coming up on the screen saying, you failed, sorry, go back. But that does basically happen, because if you suddenly have 18 foot soldiers pursuing you, you can't get away. I used all the tricks I had, and even when I was in a wide open space outside, or I was running around a labyrinth of corridors, 99% of the time you can't get away. They run almost as fast as you, and they're in such vast numbers. So the solution I found in every instance was run in, get chased from the get-go, find the target, stab them, run out again and get chased the whole way, and eventually you outrun them. That was the most effective way of doing it. It's boring, it's stupid, it's not stealth. So, yeah, the campaign feels like it was something that was farmed out to, like, the C Squad, and yeah, the multiplayer, the cooperative missions, which are supposed to be the big point of this, apparently, is every bit as tedious as the single-player stuff. There are story missions, but they're not the story missions. They're not. You can't play the campaign missions cooperatively, which I think was kind of suggested was the case initially. I could have sworn that they were touting this as a bit. What it feels like is that they realised it didn't work, so they pushed it to the sidelines, because the cooperative missions are built like single-player bits. You're walking behind a talking NPC and they're filling your ears with loads of plot. And there's 4 of you just pigeon-stepping behind, bobbing along. It's insanity. It's not compelling at all. Some of them are better than others. There's these robbery missions which are more exciting, because there are actually there's some semblance of stealth there, where you're sneaking around trying to rob a certain amount of money, and the more you get discovered, the less money you get. But most of them are like missions in the main game, where everyone just turns into a nutter and just goes around killing everybody. You run around, kill, revive, succeed, the end. That's it. So, yeah. The weird thing is that the co-op missions are not half as good as the Wolf Pack missions were in Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, which Ubisoft never shouted about, despite it being... Those missions were brilliant, and they demanded real teamwork. They were simpler than these, but they were immeasurably better. And the fact that this is what's replaced them is just rubbish, but... So yeah, I thought Unity was a washout. I didn't enjoy it at all, even without the problems that I encountered. I just don't think it's very interesting. It feels like a bizarre backward step in many ways. On the other hand, Assassin's Creed Rogue on Xbox 360 is, for me, much better, just because it's essentially Black Flag 2. It was almost certainly planned as DLC for Black Flag. Because it's not, it reuses assets from 3 and 4, and it's not substantial. So I think it was going to be a sort of what did they call those Rockstar? What do they call those Grand Theft Auto packs that they released? You know, the excellent.
Well, it's just DLC. It's Liberty City Stories, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. There's something on a par with that. That's what this feels like. But nevertheless, I enjoyed it so much more than Unity. The hero is this angry Irishman. The Assassin's Creed series it has not got a great reputation for accents, and this has some of the worst yet. But he's a guy called Cormac something, Shay Patrick Cormac, and he defects from the Assassins to the Templars, which is not something that's explored in any great detail. And again, he's an angry white man out for revenge, breaking the series mold again, and it's just Black Flag again, but you're given some cool new weapons, like this grenade launcher thing that lets you hurl berserk grenades and sleep grenades, and you can now drop oil from the rear of your ship, which is very handy. And there are returning characters like Benjamin Franklin and Haytham Kenway, who's still one of the most interesting characters that's ever been in the series. And the way that the stories actually intersect, the way that Unity ties in with Rogue is actually really neat. I think that was actually the way that I think playing them together is definitely a way to enjoy them to the fullest. This feels like the AAA release of the two in terms of the way it actually gives you new things, and it seems to have a slightly more focused story, even though it's clearly been done on the cheap with the rehashed environments, etc. The campaign is about 8 to 10 hours long, but the penultimate mission is unbelievably difficult, and it advises you before you enter it, so hey, maybe you should go and grind a little bit and sort of build your ship up. And it's not kidding, because I tried that a multitude of times and I just kept screwing up because it's really hard. And I don't know, there's something mildly offensive about that. I want to finish the game, but they're like, go and spend 2 hours dossing around on the sea for a little bit longer, which I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if you want to bypass that, there is a way to do it. How do you suspect that is?
Money, money, money.
Exactly. That's the only point in Rogue where I thought, oh, for goodness sake, they've made it so hard that you have to either go and grind, or hey, you could chuck us a bit of money and buy one of these booster packs or fast track packs or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Which is that's not great, obviously. The big action scenes in Rogue hold up very well in comparison to the ones in Unity. Just those bits where you're running, everything's exploding and you jump occasionally. Those things that are in all of these games. They're in all action games, but the ones in this are much better than the ones in Unity. And there are some enemies in this called gang stalkers, and they've taken aspects from multiplayer, which is not here, and they've made it work within the context of single player, and it's great. They hide and wait for you, and if you detect them, you use the same techniques. You use that radial dial menu. I don't know if you played the multiplayer much.
No, as I said, I've not really touched Assassin's Creed.
Okay, well, yeah, you use it's a very clever system where you hear whispering on the soundtrack, and you bring up this radial dial menu. It'll point you in the right direction. Then you bring up the. It's fun to walk around snuffing out these people that are hiding, but it's really superb when you're in a fight anyway, and you end up hearing one of them nearby, so you have to find them before they attack you, whilst also being in a fight. It's just it feels like a clever, actually experimenting with making it work in the game. It's good. This is still the superhero game. The moves are ridiculous. Everyone knows kung fu. So yeah, I mean, it's very much the sequel to Black Flag. Unity is very stripped down. The combat's a lot more simplified. You're not playing a Superman, but I'd rather play this. I think it's just more fun. So yeah, and I think I forgot to mention about Unity. In every Assassin's Creed game, there's those loot chests, but there's loads of colour-coded ones in Assassin's Creed Unity. Some of them are red, some of them are blue. Some of them demand that you play a companion app. A really, really dull companion app game in order to unlock. I mean, it's unbelievably boring. I don't know. There's no adverts in it. I don't really understand what Ubisoft get out of this by asking you to go and waste time playing on a companion app. That's annoying. And then there's a different coloured loot chests that demand that you go and play a browser game, a completely different browser game, in order to. It's like, why? I don't know what Ubisoft. I don't know how they benefit from trying to. That's.
Well, I get the app stuff because when DLC and stuff's out, it will send a notification to your phone. I mean, that's priceless. It's something that you carry around, and your phone will buzz and tell you that there's just advertising. But yeah, the browser app. That's just the browser game. That's just weird.
Yeah, and both of the games are just really boring. It doesn't. I mean, I suppose that's a good point about the app being a sort of a way of letting you know that DLC is available. But I just thought, why would I? What do you get out of me going and wasting hours playing a browser game? Doesn't make any sense. Just for looking off bots. It's very strange. But anyway, that's it. I enjoyed Rogue because it's more modest and yet it provides more entertainment. It just seems to be striving to give you something for your money, whereas Unity, I just don't even know what it is. I didn't enjoy it at all, and I just thought it was rubbish.